All right, Britton, how you doing? Okay, so I just want to address this real quick because this is pretty relevant. So you say and that it's a very time-consuming project. Yes, and I totally agree with that. I completely agree, and I think it's really meant to give students a real firsthand appreciation of what goes into typeface design, and it's a pretty grueling process. And I think it's completely understandable now when you read things about traditional type designers taking years to complete specific typefaces, and that's even in the digital realm. So before the digital age, I mean, it took many, 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 many years. I mean, there's type designers that have spent a good portion of their careers on working on one typeface. So really super time consuming. And I think that we can really see now, and I think that basically, getting this kind of understanding is going to help your appreciation and ultimately your practice of typography as well. So that's fantastic. And then you said this is something that's interesting too. So you say you have a lot of areas to clean up, but I'm actually kind of tired of looking at this and I need a break. And that happens. I mean, it happens all the time as in the design world. It does. I mean, and we have different ways of combating this. And I typically advise students and younger designers to step away from the work. Step away from the work if you have to. You'll come back with fresh eyes. The important thing, and I think this is really relevant, is that in any design project, you really just have to keep yourself working as much as possible, even if you're getting to the point where it's like, I just can't even look at this thing anymore. Take a break, come back to it. But that kind of points to the importance of deadlines, because as designers, I mean, I think honestly, if my designers in my studio start working really quickly on a project, it affords them the luxury of being able to step away if that need happens to arise. Do you see what I'm saying? So I think it all has to do with really just keeping on top of the assignments and giving yourself the luxury to be able to step away if that happens. And the only way to do that is to really expeditiously approach the assignment and try to keep ahead of schedule if in the case you do have to step away. I know that was a mouthful, but I think it's a relevant point. I'm glad you mentioned it. I think it's a very relevant point. This happens to all designers, bar none. So, okay, let's jump over to the typeface. It's done beautifully. It really is. Your attention to detail here and the consistency that you have achieved is actually, I think, is very remarkable. I think that right now, what I would recommend that you do is in your submission, for your typeface, give me two versions, okay? Give me this version that you have, or the versatility here is pretty incredible, because you can actually end up with three different versions of this typeface. One would be the way it is now. Another would be pure black, and another would be just the black strokes with no fill, with no color in the fill, or some black stroke white fill, as it were. So what I would like you to do when you submit your final work is give me this version and give me a version with all black. And the reason I say that is only because it's going to be a lot easier for me to look at these letter forms in all black. So I'll be able to spot some inconsistencies if there are any. Right now, I'm not seeing any. I do have a couple of comments, right, as far as the letter forms go. Right now, there's one thing that's really, really bugging me, and it is the way that the cap R and the cap B are almost just identical. And I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I did not mean the cap R and the cap B. I meant the cap R and the cap A. We can see them right here. They're really, really close. I mean, just almost mirror images of each other, except for the way that you have them colored. I think it's a mistake. I think that you should really try to develop that R to not look like the A, because right now this could be mistaken for HAAD. I know you're looking at it saying, no, it's not possible. That is definitely an R. But don't forget, you've been looking at it for a long time. So you've trained yourself to decipher this as an R and to delineate the differences between the R and the A. But your viewer hasn't, okay? So when I look at it, the first thing I thought is, well, wait a second, she's got two A's in the heart. And then I looked at it closer and I realized one of them is not an A, one of them is an R, but nonetheless, they are too similar. Other than that, well, I think this is just gorgeous. There is one thing I would recommend that you consider, and that is the consistency of the rounded corners of most of your horizontal, I'm sorry, your vertical stems. We see the vertical stems, we see a curve here. We see that this 90-degree angles here, we see curves here. So we're seeing all sorts of 90-degree angles and curved corners, right? But what we're not seeing much of at all are these points right here. We can see these points right here at the top of the N and the M. And I'm wondering if it may just be a little more consistent to round that out a little bit. So that's not just such a sharp corner, to round it out a little bit and bring it down, as opposed to coming to a point and bringing it down. And the reason I say that is because this is the only area right here in all of your letter forms, including the lowercase m and n. It's the only area where we have this pointed these pointed elements right here. And I think that points to inconsistency. Do you see what I'm saying? So I would work on rounding those out. You've done a beautiful job rounding those out on your lowercase letters. So I really think that's going to help the harmony, Britton. I really do. Try it. Let me know what you think. It's probably the last thing you want to hear right now is requested additional changes. But nonetheless, you're so close. And this is just really, really coming along beautifully. Great job on your punctuation. Your numeric character set looks fantastic. Lowercase looks fantastic. I'm thinking you've got a winner here so far. So definitely just address those changes that I mentioned. And if you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to let me know. Very good work. Thank you so much for sharing.